Robin McDowell and I started looking at prison labor during the pandemic, actually. We wondered, why are incarcerated workers being tasked with making things like hand sanitizer and face masks, while the rest of America's workers are being told to stay home and protect themselves? And we came up with this question: are there two systems here, and why are there two systems? And this actually took us to a stakeout of a prison. That's kind of where we started. And that sounds crazy probably to most people listening to this, but for an investigative journalist, that was right up our alley. And so we went to the Louisiana State Penitentiary. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a sprawling 18,000 acre prison farm was a former plantation. And we waited for cattle that had been raised by prisoners on that farm to leave the gates. We followed that cattle to an auction house in Baton Rouge. From there, we followed a truck 600 miles to a slaughterhouse in Texas. And from there, we learned that the beef was going to companies that including McDonald's and Burger King and Walmart and Sam's Club and Costco. And so that was our first kind of surprise in all of this. Then we started filing all of these public records requests, and we were looking at agriculture because that very much links to the past. And we wanted to see what other prison farms, so in Arkansas and Texas, for instance, a lot of big prison farms there. And we found that they were selling grains, so corn, soy, wheat, to big multinational companies like Cargill, which is the largest privately owned company in the United States. Tyson Foods, that's another one. And from there, we kind of started looking at the supply chain, and we could see the spider web that was literally reaching from these prison farms into virtually every American's pantry or refrigerator through products that are iconic, like Coca-Cola and Meadow Gold flour and Ballpark hot dogs and Cheerios cereal. And then we also started looking at the leasing that's still going on, because we have work release programs where you have workers who are, and still incarcerated, but they're going out and they're in the community working. You might not know somebody serving you at McDonald's is actually incarcerated. And also a lot of correctional departments also have contracts that are direct with private companies. And so we were seeing people working at dangerous places like poultry plants. And then we started asking the question, well, what happens if they get hurt or killed on the job? And we found out that in most cases, they are not eligible for workers' comp or disability. It's extremely difficult for them to sue through the civil court. And even OSHA and occupational safety organizations or agencies at the state level often do not have jurisdiction to investigate. So in some cases, you might have an incarcerated worker standing side by side at a private company with a worker in the free world, but they have very different rights and protections. And so I think, again, this goes back to this question of, why are there two systems?